everyone. This is Kathy from ERB Inc. I'm the VP of Ops, and we have an amazing panel today. We're really excited to share a lot of great breaking news and all of our developments from the past year. So on board, we've got Joe Jusko.
Hello.
Artist. We've got Sergio Aragonés, also writer-artist, and Thomas Yeates, writer-artist. And lastly, but not least, is Mike Wolfer, who's wears many hats for us. We've got Jim Solis and Christopher Paul Carey, Director of Publishing. Christopher, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'll just go over a brief publishing overview. We have a lot of stuff coming out that the company is producing ourselves. So I'm going to try to share the screen here of some of our big projects here. Okay, so we have a Jane Porter, The Primordial Peril. This is a Kickstarter that should be running right now. So I'm going to preface all of this by saying we're recording this a couple months in advance. So I'm not 100% sure what exactly is going to be up, but pretty sure this Kickstarter should be running live. So go search on Jane Porter and you should find this Kickstarter. It's a really fantastic project. We're going to talk to Mike a little bit about that later because he's running that, Mike Wolfer. He's the project manager on that. So then we have, let's see here, really exciting project. So we went back and we did a comparison. So Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote a novel called Beyond the Farthest Star, one of his later novels, a fantastic science fiction novel set on a very unique solar system. And I went back and compared the published text to Edgar Rice Burroughs' original manuscript, because we have that at the company. And I discovered that there were a lot of passages that were cut by the pulp editor, apparently. And were very good writing. They were cut for probably because World War II was going on, and I think they were trying to sort of not scare people. And ERB wrote a lot about what war and some of the horrors of war and things. Very interesting stuff. So we've gone back in and restored Edgar Rice Burroughs' original text. And so this will have, well, we're going to actually use this art that you see here, the classic Frazetta cover art for the cover. And we are getting Mark Schultz, great artist, to do the frontispiece for this. He's doing a fantastic frontispiece to this. And then it's going to be illustrated by Roy Krenkel. So we did the original illustrations for the Canaveral
Sign me up.
Yeah, so it's going to be fantastic. And we'll have bonus materials in it too. When it comes out in the authorized library, we'll have additional bonus materials. And Joe will be doing the cover to that one. But right now we have this.
You're actually going to make me compete with this painting, right?
You got a little bit of time to think about it, Joe. So.
Yeah. So so we're really excited about that project. But I'm going over here in my time limit here. We have another novel called Skies of Venus, a novel Amtor. That's Edgar Rice Burroughs' Carson of Venus series, but with a new protagonist by Neil Romanek. This book is by, and it is a fantastic book. He really writes this for the modern audience, but it's 100% faithful to ERB in it as well. So it's going to be a fantastic read. I think the fans are going to really enjoy it. Cover art by the wonderful Richard Hescox here. So
beautiful.
Then I don't have the cover art for this book, but we have a new John Carter book coming out very soon. Might be out around the time of this when this video airs. John Carter Mars, Gods of the Forgotten by Gary Grable. And this is in our Edgar Rice Burroughs Universe series where we are expanding upon the original ERB canon. So that book is coming up soon. Then, of course, we're always putting out the Edgar Rice Burroughs Authorized Library. You see a lot of Joe Jusko's cover art here. He's, plugging away at the next set, and we'll be talking to Joe about that. So we're prepping the volumes 13 through 16 right now. So those will be coming down the pipe, hopefully by the end of the year. And then we move on to, this is not something we are publishing, but this is the new book from new series coming out from Dark Horse, Groo Meets Tarzan. So we have Sergio Aragonés here and Thomas Yeates, who worked on the project and collaborated together on it. I might actually, do you want me to, I'm going to go back to the people for a little bit here, and then we'll share some more images. So, all right. Kathy, you want to take it away from here?
Okay. So both of you, Sergio and Thomas, how did this concept come up?
Well, when I did first a crossover with Conan, and it was quite successful. And then because Dark Horse has the rights of publishing different authors, including the Tarzan things, that they asked if we could do a crossover. And I reluctantly said yes, because I don't like to interfere with creation of the authors. For instance, for me to even touch Tarzan and in meeting with a cartoon, I don't like that at all. But the solution that we had is that I include myself on the story. So it's Mark and I going to a convention and talking about it, and then we go to visit a camp, and I get hit on the head, and I start imagining what's with my character Groo and with Tarzan. So like this, nobody can say that cannot happen to Tarzan, because it's just what I think it happened to me. So it was a great fun, because when I was a kid, I was already into Tarzan. There was no television or anything, but there were books, and I read them all like in Spanish, like with passion. And then when the movies came in, that was something else. So for me, doing that book, it was, and then finding a great artist to draw Tarzan, that was a great bonus for it, because it was cartoon, but it wasn't cartoon. A lot of people there are so good artists that they can manage that. Others, they make it beautifully realistic, which he does, but still you can integrate it. And it's a lot of fun to work like that. Yes. So it was a great project, and I love it. I loved all the process of it.
So Thomas, what was your process like working with Groo?
Well, I actually remember Sergio telling me a plot for this comic book way back before we had the Conan book hardly started. We'd agreed to it, but then the idea of doing Tarzan came up early, and I don't know if that was the same plot we ended up drawing or not. But for me, Sergio is like, generally speaking, he's the coolest guy in the room. So get to work with Sergio was really a blast. Plus finding out that he's a Burroughs fan. He's like one of us. He's into all this stuff. He's into Zeta and the old illustrators and all that stuff. And so the challenge was, like Sergio was talking about, trading the pages back and forth, where your one character is wrestling with a character that you're not drawing. So you have to leave space for that. You draw the hand floating over here, and he fills in the character that's in between. And it was tricky, but once we got the hang of it, which we had already done with the Conan book a couple of years before, it was so fun to see this kind of thing happen. And he's completely faithful to the character of Tarzan. It's Burroughs Tarzan in Sergio's dream. He gets the parallel story, the framing sequence in the parallel story, where Sergio goes to the rundown safari park in Chula Vista and is chased by the lions and everything, is just amazing. And then then it transitions into the fantasy in his head of this Tarzan story, where Groo is doing his mayhem in Africa. Wherever Groo shows up, the natives always go, yeah, you want to go a little farther down the trail. What you're looking for is, it's over the next mountain, because nobody wants them around. His reputation for mayhem precedes him. And it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
How do you work together? Do you work digitally? Do you send digital files back, or is it actual physical artwork? Or wow, old school.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to put that computer on. I have ever used a computer for anything except research. You know, before I have an extensive library all over, a whole library of research books, because through the years, whatever I needed, I just went back to my books and had it about everything, about Japan, about name it. And suddenly I press a button, I put lion images, and I get 1,000 images. And my poor books are getting all full of spider webs, you know.
You know what I found out though is I have tons of books also, and I've been cutting up magazines for 40 years, and I've got like 3-4 drawer file cabinets full of reference on anything you could possibly name. Because what I discovered is now, since the internet is out there, if you Google something, everybody Googles the same images. So you start to see the same reference pop up here and there. But I have stuff in my files from 30 years ago that I know nobody else has. So I still make a lot of use of the books and the clip files that I have, more so than the internet.
Sure. In my style, I just have to look at it to remember if they have dots or stripes. You know, so after that, I totally cartoony it. So it's not it had been really helpful, but that's all my use for the computer. I have to call my daughter, help me they send me contracts on the thing, and I have to scan them, and I sign them, and she scans them back, and I don't know where to put them now because I don't have them. I'm really never used a computer to send anything, and sadly we have to depend on the mail and things like that.
How did that work? Tom, did you basically lay the book out, and then Sergio sent the pages to Sergio, and Sergio filled in the spaces you left out, or did you collaborate on like storyboarding it or anything?
Well, when Sergio writes the story, he writes it with little cartoons. He visualizes it as he writes, and then it goes to Mark Evanier to turn that into dialogue and tighten it up. And so his sketches are there right from the beginning, and his storytelling is so good that he will always tell me, oh, forget my sketch, do your own layout for this. Like on the panels that are just Tarzan, like there's panels and pages that are just all my work, and I lay those out pretty much myself. But he'll invariably have some way he solves some storytelling challenge that's so perfect. I'll just copy his layout, you know.
That's awesome.
But then on the pages where we're both working on the same page, where our characters are on the same page, or the world that I draw has got Groo in it. We send the originals back and forth. You know, I'd have a Xerox of his layout, and the pages that I lay out, I'll lay them out like that, and I'll fill in with pencil, and sometimes all the way to the ink, and then send it to Sergio, and he will ink in all his little characters and funny stuff around it. It was real interesting to get the pages back and see what he did.
Well, even with a text, Mark is so meticulous about it that even the fonts, there are Groo fonts and Tarzan fonts. Even the balloons, the border of the balloons are Tarzan balloons. They are not Sergio balloons. Groo balloons are my balloons. But Tarzan is very carefully tender, careful. So it is very, very, very well studied and research, a lot of research and that goes in it. That's what says, oh, you're very fast. It says, yeah, take the time that I do researching everything. So it's correct, you know. And I've been fortunate that through my travels, I've been in Africa quite a few times. So the memories of the feeling of things, you can absolutely get it very, very clearly. And then again, the research to put the right things on it, you know. So it's and no anachronisms in any way, you know. You will find something that it will say, no, that doesn't belong to Tarzan, or that doesn't belong there, you know. It's carefully planned. Yeah.
So I have to know, does Groo and Tarzan get along?
In this case, each other have never seen that curiosity. The whole thing is that they say, what the heck is that? Is that a human being? You know, what is it? From both ends. Groo has never, in his memory, the dog remembers people who look like that because of Conan, but the dog cannot talk, so he can never tell, hey, Groo, we have those guys before, humans, but he cannot say it, because he's a dog.
Yeah.
But to Groo, that's a strange thing, those people and those animals and everything. But it works together. It works together. But there's that great curiosity between both elements. Like
It's fun to see these pages.
They look seamless. They really do.
Well, I had to copy when he sent me the pages. There's a whole empty space here for me to draw Groo. So I have to make it very careful. I drew all these things, copying his things, that he's done before. So some of these little things, details next to Groo, I have to copy from him.
It really, it's a beautiful.
The other way around. Too.
Right, you're doing the bushes in my ink style, sort of. Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Oh, great. It worked out really well. And then
That looks amazing. That page right there.
Famous for his
A lot of detail.
brilliant characters at once, and there we have it.
Yeah.
The
Just
whole,
looking at that artwork, I see the lost art, and it's called inking. That's inking. That's beautiful stuff.
It's a lost art, huh?
Wow.
Because it's lost art because people are using stylus on their computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the research, all the guns are from the period too.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. That's the Lee Enfield rifle, same rifle that Korok brought with him when he followed Tarzan and Jane to Bal Uldan. Still there.
Cool.
That's
always that's always a lot of fun. I've done it on the covers also, like on Tarzan the Untamed. I got a letter from a guy who's like a firearms expert who was so impressed that the sniper actually had the correct sniper rifle for the period and for who would have had that back then. And I love doing that. I love researching to make sure that those little details are accurate. It's even if nobody else notices it, which I was flattered this guy did. I know it's right.
And so
as an artist myself, I encounter that a lot where you get to something, you say, well, I could fake it, but there's one person who is going to call you on it.
So that's a good segue, because we do need to move on to the next segment to fit everyone in here. So, so here we go. So there's Tarzan the Untamed right there. I can zoom in on it a little bit, maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But so Joe, you've done a lot of amazing artwork, Edgar Rice Burroughs artwork over the years. So what's it like? How's it different, if it is different, working on the Edgar Rice Burroughs Authorized Library?
Well, when I did the trading cards back in the early 90s, it was the first time I'd ever really tackled any of the Burroughs stuff. And while I had read the books before, I kind of moved through them again to get stuff, fairly accurate. But they were done so quickly. There were small paintings. They were done really, really quickly. I mean, between 1 and 3 days per piece for any one of those pieces. So I didn't have as much time to sit there and think and fully flesh out the ideas and everything. And I think 25 years later, I'm that much a better painter, and I just feel like that I just really have a better handle on all the material now than I did back then.
So do you go back and read the stories?
Well, I know the Tarzan books pretty well, but I do go on. There's I forget what the site is called, but they have the chapter breakdowns of stuff in case I ever need to refresh myself. With each book, I pretty much know what scene I want to do for the cover. A couple of them obviously are ubiquitous, and you kind of have to do them. Like at the Earth's core, you really need that Dipgar scene. But the challenge there then is trying to find a way to do it that no one's ever done it before. And I think I came with a really good solution for that cover. So that looks unique and like mine. So that's really the challenge with these, is because there's such a history of illustration behind me that I really have to come up with ways of choosing scenes that are new or depicting scenes that were done before in a fresh way. And that's the challenge for me on these. I'm having a lot of fun with that.
I think the challenge for you is that all of them are different and all of them are wonderful. All the compositions and they don't have, it's not similar. It's just fantastic.
Thank you. That was my main goal with doing these, because that one of the things I learned when doing trading card sets, I've done so many different trading card sets, is that it's really easy to fall into 3 or 4 different color palettes. And when you look at them separately, you don't notice it. When you look at them as a collection, they all look alike. So on these, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that every single palette is different and not reused from an earlier cover. And I'm trying to pick different angles and different, you know, compositions to keep them all separate and differentiated. So thanks for noticing.
Yeah, but not only that, the reader knows I have that book, but now he cannot say that because he knows that he doesn't have that book.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason I didn't want to do pinup covers. I wanted to do actual scenes from the novels, because I mean, I know the way comics are done now. I'm more of a narrative illustrator. And in comics, it's all pinup covers, you know. And I remember buying the same Spider-Man comic like 3 times because I didn't realize I had it already, because it looked like every other cover, you know. So I'm so much more a narrative illustrator, and I really like telling a story with the paintings, you know. So that's what's fun for me with these, is actually telling a story with each cover, which makes them unique.
Yep, totally.
Wow. Yeah. You're really hitting it out of the park, and I love that your figures are different sizes. You've got the long shot, you got a closer up shot, you've got the medium shots, and you're playing with the elements really well.
Yeah, bouncing the angles back and forth and stuff like that. Just, you know, trying to do as much as I can to differentiate each cover.
Sure, working.
And so you also do the frontispieces here. So that's got to be a whole other process you have to go through.
Well, we mentioned earlier off camera, you know, black and white has never been my primary discipline. So these were a lot of fun to do. I think I've gotten better as I've gone along, as I've gotten more comfortable with the idea of inking. So some of the earlier stuff, like this one, I see things I would change a little bit on it, you know, but it was just a process, and it's evolved. And the response actually to these, as opposed to the paintings, has been a surprise to me. A lot of people seem to prefer the black and white stuff to the paintings I'm seeing online, which is a compliment and gives me an idea that I'm kind of on the right track with these. And it's giving me a little bit more confidence actually in working on them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Good inking.
Here. Tarzan and Jad Baljaw, the Golden Lion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm a big cat fanatic too. So anytime I have a chance to draw big cats, this is sort of the ultimate job for me, because I'm a frustrated wildlife artist, you know, and my dream has always been to be able to take time off and just do like big cat paintings, do a photo safari to Africa, and just take a year or two and just do cat paintings like some of my favorite wildlife guys. But you know, that hasn't afforded myself the opportunity yet. So maybe after these are all done.
I like how you bring in, you know, you portray one thing on the cover, which is, you know, the perfect scene, and then you bring in all like the other characters. Like here we have Nakima, very important monkey character, sidekick of Tarzan. So
yeah, there were certain scenes that I really wanted to do, but they wouldn't make proper cover illustrations, you know, like I did the Atlas Woman and Ant-Man, but that wouldn't really make a great cover, you know. So I kind of saved those sort of frontispieces then.
Yeah, here's one we haven't actually shown off yet. So this is Tarzan the Invincible, right? Tarzan the Invincible.
I believe it is.
Yep. So
that'd be Princess Law.
Yeah, and I love doing organic stuff. You know, I love rocks and trees and animals and anything organic. So this is, you know, sort of like, these are always so much fun. With the black and white things, you could just sit there and just mindlessly like render detail and stuff. And I really have so much fun with this.
Is it a stress reliever? Do you just like sit there and just get lost in the fantasy of it and just enjoy it?
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Jim Steranko some years back, and it was something he noticed about my work, and he asked me, he goes, "You kind of act out your stuff as you're painting or drawing it, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do," because you have to put yourself into the scene to actually kind of, you know, to get the feel that you want for it. And I think most of us who do this stuff try to do that as much as possible. Instead of just kind of faking it, you want to put yourself in there and act it out. I mean, I don't jump on tables and swing knives around or anything, but mentally you put yourself into the scene.
Yeah. So so we were, I guess, midway through reprinting the Tarzan series. We're halfway through, working on the next set. and then we'll, I believe we're moving on to Barsoom after that.
Yeah, which I can't.
So that's going to be fantastic stuff. You've already done a lot of Barsoom art for comics, a lot of covers and things like that, which are fantastic.
Did a lot of the cover stuff. Unfortunately, when I was doing the Dynamite stuff, there were a couple of, they had a couple design things that I didn't quite agree with, so I had to follow their concept designs. But I want to go back to my original ideas from the card set back then, as far as what certain characters look like.
Yeah.
You know, and be a little bit more accurate to the novels. But when you work for a company, if they have a certain design, you have to follow their design and their concepts.
Yeah. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing what you come up with. It's going to be, I mean, these are the definitive Edgar Rice Burroughs cover art, you know, for this generation. You know, this is going to stand alongside all the ones that went before, Krenkel, Frazetta. It's fantastic stuff.
That means so much. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting past the actual series to the standalone novels, because I've never done those. You know, so those are going to be a lot of fun.
That will be really fantastic.
I did an Oakdale affair for the Eckhoff last year, and I know I have another concept for the actual authorized library. So those are going to be a lot of fun too.
Wonderful, wonderful. I guess we should move on to Mike Wolfer. So Mike is running our, he's actually the writer of this comic. I'm going to pull up the screen here again. My screen isn't flipping like it should be. Apologies.
Okay.
Here we go. This is the Jane Porter Primordial Peril comic book that Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated is publishing, and we're running a Kickstarter right now. It should be live right now as this video airs. And Mike, can you take it away and tell us a little bit about this comic book series?
Sure. When you guys first approached me on this, the concept was that you want to take Jane, who is, you know, Jane Clayton from the Tarzan series, and kind of break her away into her own, you know, make her own character separate from Tarzan. Let's give her a life that isn't completely, you know, intertwined with what Tarzan's doing. Give her independence in a sense, with a whole new, you know, set of you know, characters and situations and environments that are brand new, but are absolutely completely canonical. This is not a reboot or reimagining, as they say, of Jane Porter. It's the same Jane, and this is canon. These are just adventures that we haven't seen yet, and it's another side of Jane that is going to be new to a lot of people. Like the cover you showed. If you say, well, do you know Jane Porter, Jane Clayton from Tarzan? People are going to say, absolutely. And the image, you know, they're jungles and, you know, animal skin clothing. And then we show them this. They're going to say, what? Wait, what? Yeah. This is different. This is new. This, you know.
Kind of playing against type a little bit and giving her own agency as a character. So I mean, she had, you know, Tarzan's Quest by Edgar Rice Burroughs. She is really one of the main characters of that alongside Tarzan, and she really stands out as her own capable character. She has a background where she learned a lot of stuff from Tarzan, and you know, you see that evolution over the series. You see her in like Tarzan, I think it's Tarzan the Terrible, and she's in Paulodon. She's already learned some stuff from Tarzan, but she's never put it into practice. And you start seeing her put it into practice in that book. You get a little teaser that she might be interested in archaeology, like her father, Professor Porter from the original book, because at the end she stops by these caves and wants to look at the cave paintings. And it's Jane that makes them stop and look at these ancient cave paintings. It's not Tarzan, it's not Korak who are traveling with them, it's Jane. A very interesting way that ERB worded that. So we're taking that little kernel of information and kind of extrapolating on that. So
yeah, this is 1952 is when this is set. So it's the culmination of all those various threads brought together. All the training that she's received, all the adventures that she's had, has all set her up for this new life, which is not. We don't want to scare anyone. It's not like, oh, Jane and Tarzan got divorced, or like it's not like that. These are just adventures that she's having, and when we get to explore who she is as an individual, but also in really cool adventures. And this first issue, Primordial Peril, it's a self-contained story, 24 pages long, which is kind of lengthy for a single issue comic story. And this just it sets everything up for adventures to come.
Yep.
Well, Tarzan was off on his own, having his own adventures, without her.
That's
Right.
true.
So there's
That's true.
space for her own stories in the original novel.
Yep.
Good idea.
So it's a really, really fun thing. So check it out on Kickstarter, Jane Porter, The Primordial Peril. So, and then we have a new comic, Beyond the Farthest Star, Warriors of Xandar. I'm really excited about this. This is one of my favorite comics that
I'm ridiculously excited about this. I'm so in love with this series. It's crazy.
So this again is Beyond the Farthest Star. We're going to be, publishing the Restored Edition of Edgar Rice Burroughs' classic novel, but we're also taking it forward. I mentioned that there are 11 planets in this system, 10 of which have not been explored. So Xandar is one of the planets that's not been explored. And so we're sending our kind of new ERB universe character, Victory Harben, is being sent, ends up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so she gets into her own adventures there. Here's kind of the shot of the solar system here. So you have a setup. I should let you tell about how the solar system's set up, Mike.
Yeah, it's very strange. There's 11 planets in this solar system. Every single one of them is equidistant from each other and also equidistant from the sun. There's no way that was a natural occurrence. We don't know. We don't know the mythology or how this happened. Beyond the Farthest Star was originally a story that was never completed. There was to be 3 parts. Chris, you and I were talking about this the other night. The first part was called Beyond the Farthest Star, and that was published in, what was that published in?
Oh geez, blanking on the magazine, one of the pulps.
Yeah.
Kathy, you found the cover for me recently. I can't remember which pulp that was. Darn it, I should know this, but I don't. But anyway,
sorry.
you put me on the spot. You put me on the spot here. But anyway, it was published in the pulps in 1942, January 1942, I believe.
Right. And then the second part was then published after ERB passed away, and that was in Tales of 3 Planets. Tales
of 3 Planets in 1964. So that's the first time you get to see, what quote unquote is the full novel. But he really meant to write another novella or 2 that would have been continuing the story. He serialized his works, usually in 4 parts, in the pulps, and then he'd collect them and put them out as a book. And so he only got to do 2 of them. World War II, Pearl Harbor hit. He wrote Beyond the Farthest Star about a year before Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor hit, and then it was all over as far as that.
Yeah.
So.
So when American Mythology Productions picked up the license for the book, we had to look at it and say, well, what do we want to do with this? The original novel was, the main character was a guy named Tangor, and his story was never completed. And Chris and I talked about it, and we said, there are 10 other planets in that solar system that have not been explored, and we don't want to complete that story of Tangor either, because that's a whole adventure in itself. So since we have all these other worlds that we can travel to, let's do something completely new set in that same solar system with completely new characters and make it absolutely 100% accessible to anyone who wants to pick this up. You don't have to have any prior knowledge of anything. to understand what's going on in this story. And issue 1, when you pick it up, page 1, you get some explanation. Page 2, we're off and running. And it doesn't stop.
I just got to see, I just have to say, because I just got to read the full color lettered issue just a few days ago. And it just grips you and pulls you right in.
It's fun.
The plot is immediately accessible. You don't need to know, and there's no background you need to know. You have these really, really creepy looking antagonists, as you can kind of see right here. Very strange things. I keep thinking they look like they stepped out of Alice in Wonderland or something. Really bizarro creatures, and they're really, really evil. So,
as Chris mentioned, our main character is Victory Harben, who we see her popping in and out of the new Edgar Rice Burroughs universe novels. She's a part of that, but this is sort of like what we're doing with Jane Porter. We're pulling Victory Harben away from that storyline and showing a separate adventure of hers. And like I say, we're making it absolutely accessible for new readers. This is another character we've introduced named Tila. She's a resident of this planet, one of the native races. I almost said alien. She's not alien because that's her planet. Victory's the alien there.
She's a cool design.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. It was so much fun creating new mythologies, and legends for these races of characters. The world building thing. We took Xandar. All we had was a name that Edgar Rice Burroughs gave to us. He gave us Xandar, and so we've just been creating all kinds of crazy stuff. It's so much fun.
It's the cover of the second issue,
and that character there in the background.
Mike and I spent a lot of time talking about this character.
A lot.
So it's really, really fun.
You guys are having a lot of fun with this.
We sure are.
Yeah.
Sure are. So, and then American Mythology also puts out a lot of other comic books. So you want to do a quick overview of that, and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah. We started publishing ERB licensed books in 2016, and I've been overseeing the whole line since the beginning, and I've been trying to make them as close to canon as possible. But it wasn't until you came on board, Chris, that we started working really, really closely, you and I, to bring everything absolutely in line with canon. And so, we don't want to publish comics where we take a well-known property and say, well, here's what I'd do with it, and make all kinds of changes. It's the absolute opposite of what I want to do. So Chris and I spend months on the phone together, years, constantly calling back and forth. So we're all of the books, we're trying to bring them into canon. And the last slide you saw, we do Carson of Venus. That's canonical now. We have a new Pellucidar series coming up called Across Savage Seas.
This is actually based on an outline I did for a novel that I proposed to Jim before I worked for the company that just never went forward because I ended up writing a different novel instead. So we're doing it as a comic book, which is pretty fun. And
what else we have? Land at Time Forgot. Land at Time Forgot Fearless is a new series that just completed this past spring that was very popular. It was a lot of fun. This is actually for anyone who's making notes. This takes place right after the ending of the first novel, The Land of Time Forgot, the first Castback novel. This happens maybe a few weeks after that. So this is kind of a lost adventure. And as you can see on that little circle there, the ERB universe icon, that designates all of our canonical books. So if you see that on there, you know that this is approved by ERB Inc. and it's an official part of that series.
Who's the artist on the covers over there? This is very good. Wow. Roy Martinez?
Is it?
Oh, Roy Allen Martinez. Yeah.
It's wonderful stuff.
Incredible artist. Yeah.
My thing is not working again here, so next.
Oh, The Moon Maid. Another series that I'm absolutely in love with. This was a new direction that we took from away from the original Moon Maid character in the first in the novel The Moon Maid. We created a new character to show some different locations and different things happening in the world of Vana, which is on the inside surface of the our hollow moon. And this just, oh my gosh, I love this series so much. By the way, I write all of these, so me saying I love it so much, you know, it's.
And again, we have some.
And the Monster Men.
Yeah.
Did I already say this? Did I already say I had a favorite series? I don't know, because this could be it.
Mike, do you like this one too?
This one's up there in the top 2, along with the 4 others that are in the top 2.
So, well, okay. Let's move on to the next segment. So we're going to talk with Kathy here about some merchandise we've got.
And I'm just going to scoot along real quick. This is an actual image from our Amazon store, Jane Porter. We have actively been it's an exciting time developing merchandise for Jane Porter. We have a ton of different things, so lots of different types of apparel, books, even audio books from Oasis with some of the other properties. But currently right now on Amazon, we have 9 different brands, Jane Porter, one of them, and also Girl from Hollywood. We've also developed a page on Zazzle, and that's a page from our Zazzle store. We've got about 7 different merchandise items on there using the great brand new artwork and brand new logo. Then we'll go on to Girl from Hollywood. And this is one of our, it's a centennial edition. And I'm in love with this book. And even Christopher was saying, like, when you get into this book, it's really the characters and the storyline, you really feel for them. So I encourage everybody to go pick up the book. And if you don't have time to read, go online to get the audio book. But we've developed a whole bunch of merchandise for this as well. And so we'll move on. That's our Zazzle store. On Zazzle, like I said, we've got about, what do we have? 7, no, we've got about 5 different properties on Zazzle right now. We actively continue to develop more. So we'll move on to Quarantine Studios. Has Deja Thoris. The painter is David Fisher. Sculptor is Aaron Benart. It's a 1/5 scale cold cast resin, and she's available right now for pre-order. She'll be actually available in Q4. So you can go online to the studio's website, which is noted right there, and you can pre-order your statue. So those are some of the updates on our merchandising, but stay tuned because we've got lots more coming.
All right, Jim, you have 3 minutes. Go.
Boom, boom, boom. All right, John Carter, Tarzan, and maybe Carson Venus. In the John Carter world, we did recently sign a new license for a video game of John Carter. It's a new company in the UK, but the principals have had 25 years of game development. So we're excited about that. That'll be coming out maybe in 8 or 10 months, but they'll start a Kickstarter here in just another month or 2. Also in John Carter, we have a very successful role-playing game that started out about a year and a half ago. And now after a lot of success with the English language one, they are now going to release a Spanish language game for a role-playing game for John Carter. So that'll be fun. And then the other thing going on with John Carter, there's a real cult following for the movie and hopefully for a TV series. And we do have a shopping agreement that we formally have signed to try to develop a TV series for John Carter. And there's even more interest now because after the success of the Game of Thrones you see the kinds of things that can take place. But the whole Mars series has got adventure, it's got warfare, it's got romance, it's got politics. It has all the things that would make up a really exciting TV series. Now, Tarzan World, of course, he's a very active guy. We do have a Tarzan virtual reality game put together by Funtime. And they have done the first 2 episodes, which are available, but they're working on a 3rd episode. So it's not a complete game yet, but it's very well done, and it's been an exciting endeavor for them. So that's coming in completion before too long. And of course, with Tarzan, we have an animation agreement with a UK company for Tarzan animation, and we also have a shopping agreement for a live action Tarzan TV series, as well as one for an anime series. So we could see, Tarzan live action, we could see Tarzan animation, and maybe even Tarzan anime coming along before too long. We've also developed something called Tarzan Animals, and that's really for the toddlers. That's the ages 2 to 7. And that's a complete line of activities that we're negotiating with a major studio right now to try to get something off the ground, because it just was developed about 6 months ago. So it's a future attractions coming. In the world of slot machines, Tarzan is one of the leading worldwide popular slot games in Las Vegas, in Macau, and all the Indian reservation games too. So during the pandemic, they closed everything down worldwide, and the revenue from the license dropped like 90% in 1 quarter. And it's coming back now, and we think they're very excited about it. They continue to build new cabinets, and now these cabinets are like 8 feet in the air, and you sit and watch all this giant activity going on above you, and it's just an exciting game, and people of all ages sit down and just keep playing that. So it's very successful. We're also, let's see, we're going to develop Jane Porter, and we've talked about the comic book, but we're thinking that Jane Porter is a lady that could have her own identity, and then we now have signed a shopping agreement with some successful TV developers who believe that Jane belongs in her own environment with an action film or TV series that may or may not include Tarzan. He doesn't necessarily have to be there on a regular basis. Certainly he's attached, but this will be Jane Porter, Adventures of Her. And I'll close real quickly because I know we're out of time. That is, we are still hoping to get a first ever Carson of Venus film. We have a theatrical option agreement with Hideaway Entertainment. They've renewed the option, which is encouraging because that means they're still in development. And maybe by the end of this calendar year, we will have word that the option will be exercised, and hopefully we'll have a real Carson of Venus film, which would be a very exciting development for us. So that's a real thumbnail sketch. Sorry to go so fast.
All right.
Yeah, very good.
This has been an exciting panel. A lot of stuff going on. So such great talent here working on all these ERB projects. It's amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. You did a great job, everybody.
Thanks.
It's great seeing everybody again.
You can find a lot of this stuff at
It is.
You can find a lot of this stuff at erburroughs.com. So that's where you find all the books and stuff like that. So erburroughs.com, and check out the Jane Porter Kickstarter. And we'll see you next year. So thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.